When I look back at the men I chose to love, it's clear now. I wasn't choosing with my heart. I was choosing with my trauma. I was a dismissive, avoidant attachment style woman who had no clue of what a healthy, secured attachment style of loving was. Welcome, my loves, to the Hurt, Hardened, and Healed Podcast. Hey, loves, I'm home. Hey, loves, let's sit on down. So first off, let me thank you again for allowing me back into your home once again for episode 2 of the Hurt, Hardened, and Healed Podcast. This is where we talk about childhood trauma and how it impacts our adulthood life. We think that we're not impacted. We think that we have healed. We think that we have moved on. And in fact, it is like a little 2-year-old running around with no Pampers on, destroying everything that it touches, breaking things, falling out, temper tantrums. I'm telling you, this childhood trauma got us messed up. But no worries. That's what we're here for today, to get it all together, figure it out, and come out on the other side. So if you think that you don't suffer from childhood trauma, I implore you, keep watching. From hurt to hardened to healed. Let's go. Okay, so let's just jump right on in. So last episode, we talked about a dismissive avoidant, and I spoke about how I identified with that attachment style. Now, presently, I am a secure attachment style, but there are times where I teeter-totter between the dismissive avoidant because of triggers. And that is the whole issue that we suffer with in our adulthood. It's the triggers. Childhood trauma does not leave unless we cast it out. We have to really identify with it, understand where it came from and what calls it out. And that's where our triggers come in. There's going to be certain things that are said or done that is going to spiral us. But in knowing that, we have a better range of being able to reel that in and say, is this really how I want to have this experience and relate to this experience? Or would I like to create another version of myself, a healthier version of myself? So we're still getting into these attachment styles that is throwing our picker off. It's why we're picking the partners that we have. It's why we're having these multiple baby daddies and baby mamas. It's why we pick who we pick and why we stick with who we stick with. So let's just jump right into it. So let's get close. I need to look you in your eyes on this one. Okay, so we spoke about the dismissive avoidant, and if you did not see that one, please refer back to that video, or I will put the link in this description bar. Also, I implore you, as I said before, please look up these attachment styles for yourself. I guarantee you will find you somewhere in one of them, and it could very well be secured. So if you are a secured attachment style, kudos to you. I guess I should have described that one first to begin with. So maybe we'll do that on the next episode. Now what I'm going to be looking into is the anxious attachment style. I'm going to just go ahead and start off by telling you the anxious attachment style really got some things going on. So let's start. So anxious attachment style, also known as preoccupied or anxious preoccupied, is characterized by a strong desire for closeness and intimacy in relationships, coupled with fear of abandonment and a high need of reassurance. Individuals with this experience anxiety and insecurity in their relationships, leading to behaviors like seeking constant validation, overly dependent, and feeling distressed when they perceive distance or separation. Fear of abandonment. There's a constant need for reassurance, seeking validation from their parents about their relationship and their feelings. So this also shows up as an adult because now you need constant validation from your loved one, from your spouse. You need to know, does this look good? Are you happy with me? Do you love me? Do you want me? Does that person look better than me? You just constantly need reassurance from your partner. They suffer from low self-esteem, often struggle with low self-worth, and may be based on a sense of worth on their relationships. So they value themselves based on how their partner sees them. So if their partner speaks very poorly of them, then they feel very poorly of themselves. If their partner speaks very highly of them, then they feel very highly of themselves. So they definitely have identity issues when it comes to relationships. They measure their worth by their partner. Difficulty being alone. Now, this is a good one because I think that this is what kind of pushes people out of relationships when someone has a difficulty being alone. Like, for instance, clingy. That is definitely the word that describes that. It just is like overbearing, so to speak. Just somebody needing to be in your space, almost in your skin. They may become overly reliant on their partner for emotional support and validation. They need a lot of support in that area. So I would say for a dismissive, avoidant personality, this would drive them crazy. This would drive my style crazy. And it once did. I had an entanglement with an anxious attachment style. And we drove each other crazy because the more of my time he needed, the more of my validation he needed, the more of my space he needed, the more I pulled away. The more independence I needed, the more separation I needed. And so we were, I would say, of all the attachment styles, the worst two to partner together. They have sensitive to partners' actions and moods. So they're highly attuned to their partner's behavior and may misinterpret actions and moods, leading to anxiety. So if their partner comes in and their partner's had a bad day and their partner doesn't want to talk, they take it personal. Even if their partner says, hey, I'm having a rough day, I don't want to talk, or I just need some time to decompress and unwind, it's rejection for them. And they need to know why and how can they help, and don't shut them out. And it just becomes a very overwhelming situation for both the partner and this anxious style person. Causes of anxious attachment: inconsistent caregiving in childhood. Now, I find it funny, though, because when I pulled up the dismissive, it didn't really give the breakdown like this. I really appreciate how this is. So we may have to revisit the dismissive because I feel like they left out some tea for the dismissive. But we're going to move forward with the anxious right now. So this can stem from childhood experiences where caregivers' responsiveness was inconsistent, leading to a belief that love and attention are unreliable. Early trauma or neglect. Traumatic experiences or neglect in childhood can contribute to the development of anxious attachments. Impact in relationships. Now we get into the nitty-gritty. The need for constant reassurance and the fear of abandonment can lead to relationships instability and conflict. Difficulty with trust. May struggle to trust their partners and may interpret their actions and words, leading to conflict. Potential for codependency. May exhibit codependent behaviors, putting their partner's needs above their own. And we all know that we say we put our partners first, but when you solely put just your partner's needs first and not your own, it becomes a problem. It becomes a huge problem. Self-reflection. Becoming more aware of the attachment pattern and triggers can help individuals identify and manage their anxious behavior. Reduce reliance on partners for emotional support. So how does this show up in your multiple baby daddies? Picker. Because what happens is that if you are an anxious attachment style person, right, you are more likely to be the person, don't come for me, to try to trap the man with the baby. You are that person. Not all of you, but for those of you who think that this is going to have that man or woman gravitate towards you, it does the complete opposite. And that takes you back to that word damage. Because when you think about damage, and we talked about it, just you tossing it out and casting it away, right? When you're doing damage control, you're trying to prevent the point of no return. You're trying to prevent something that happens that is hard to come back from, if even possible. So what happens is, if you are this person, then it is likely that you're going to have multiple partners, because I don't want to say that you run off your partners, but you probably do. And so this is sometimes before conception of a child, sometimes during the conception, and a lot of times after. Sometimes this is a means to keep the partner by having a child because of the strong sense of attachment. And having a child now means you have to take care of me, you have to take care of that child. And this is why it's so difficult when the man says, I'm going to take care of my baby, but not you. I'm going to be in my child's life, but I don't want to be in your life. This is where those parents decide, if you don't want me, then you don't want my child. This is completely different from a dismissive avoidant attachment style, because a dismissive avoidant attachment style is going to decide that they're independent anyway. So you don't want the child? Bye. You don't want to help out? Bye. I'll raise this child by myself. And what ends up happening is that the dismissive person also does not extend the olive branch to try to get you to be a part of the child's life. They will allow you, don't get me wrong, but they will not allow you if you use that as a mechanism to get them back. They will cut you and that child off. So if there is a man that is cutting both you and the child off because you're acting like an anxious attachment style, then baby, until you release the ghost and decide to move on and let that man be great in another relationship, the child's going to suffer. But if you are, let's say, the woman that is a dismissive attachment style, then, and you are with a man that is an anxious attachment style, then what happens is that the man will do a lot for the child to lure you. Then they will spitefully pull away from the child if getting you is not working. And so then you're kind of like in this topsy-turvy type of space of, do I sacrifice me for the sake of the child? This is why a lot of people stay in relationships and in marriages when they say for the sake of the kids, right? Because they are emotionally checked out. They are done. But they don't want the children to suffer. So if you are an anxious attachment style, a lot of times you're having children with partners who have left you. And so it's unfair to say, okay, I had this relationship, it didn't work out, we had a child, he's moved on, well, I can't have any more kids. So usually you start again and you hope for success of that relationship. And sometimes another child comes out of it. But because of the toxicity, because of the neglect and the abandonment issues, you are now running off another partner. And I don't know. It's a question to think. Do you just stop having children because these partners aren't staying around? And this goes for men as well. Or do you just continue to try? My answer is get help. Get help. I wish that I knew the things that I know now, as far as in my selection of choice. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I would have done the work that I needed to do for myself so that I could be in a secured attachment style behavior before I was pursued by someone who wasn't, because then I would have identified with that, right? My trauma wouldn't have linked to their trauma. So wouldn't have ignored red flags or okayed them. I would have said, this is unhealthy. This is somebody that I don't need to entertain. And I would have moved on. Now, I'm thankful, though, that I didn't know what I know, because then I wouldn't have the beautiful young adults that I have now. So let's not kick ourselves over the choices that we made, but let's understand why we made them and how we can make better choices moving forward. And what we can't change, we surely can change in the generations to come. These are the conversations that we need to be having with our kids. One is, do not entertain someone that you cannot see you spending the rest of your life with. Not that we don't need a timekeeper. We don't need somebody to pass the time away. We don't need a homie lover friend or just somebody to just chill with, because it always goes left. But two, I would say, deal with the traumas that you may have invoked on your own children because of your own traumas, right? You get firsthand to see how they handle childhood relationships. Right? Whether it's the neighbor next door, kids, or whether it's the girlfriend preteen relationship, boyfriend relationship that they have in middle school and high school. How they handle those breakups, how they handle those interactions is directly connected to their childhood trauma. If they're being promiscuous, it doesn't always mean that they were touched. It could be what they're seeing in the home. Are you being promiscuous? Are you not involved with anyone at all? What are they actually seeing? Sometimes you have to take the glasses off and switch the lens to see it from your children's perspective. What are you showing them? Are you showing up as the woman that you would want your sons to have? Are you showing up as the woman you would want your daughter to be? Are you showing up as the father you would want your daughter to marry for her children? Are you showing up as the father you would want your sons to be? What are you showing? What are we displaying? Because these attachment styles are directly connected to how we handle life and how we handle relationships. If you cannot be corrected at work when you're doing something wrong and it really just pisses you off, it could be because there was a lot of scrutiny when you were coming up. Maybe as a child, you never felt like you did anything right. Maybe someone was constantly barking in your ear, telling you, you don't know nothing, you don't understand, you're always doing something wrong, you're always breaking something, you don't have a clue. That will show in relationships where people are trying to give you corrective criticism. And a lot of times it's coming from a place of love, but you can't identify that. That is trauma. If at work, you can't be a team player, right? You'd rather do projects on your own. It becomes an issue when you have to now gravitate to other people to make something work. It could be because at some point in your childhood, you had to do a lot of things alone. And when you did things with like siblings or relatives, you got blamed when it went wrong. It was always your fault, either because maybe you were older or maybe because you knew better, but you got blamed for a lot of stuff and you took the brunt for actions of other people. So now you don't want to be a team player. You just want to be accountable for yourself and yourself only. That is a form of childhood trauma. So every childhood trauma is not sexual. It's not physical. A lot of times it's mental and it's emotional. I like to believe I suffered from some financial childhood trauma. You know, I just never got the things that I wanted to get. So then what happens? You get older and now you feel driven to provide all these things, not only that you did not have for yourself, but for your children. And some of y'all are walking around with some spoiled brats. But that's a conversation for another day. We're talking about how this shows up in your picking your partners. So my advice with this attachment style would be definitely to seek help. Seek help, talk it out, find out where it stems from. And then once you identify with the attachment style, then look at the attributes and then position them against each relationship that you have. Position them in your marital relationship if you're married. Position it in your parental relationships if you're a parent. Position it at work. How are you with your boss? How are you with your employees? If you are the boss, how are you with your coworkers? How are you with your church family, your church friends? We sit here and we talk about church hurt and how nasty someone is and how they can be professing to be a child of God and they fussing over a seat, or, you know, they're just being mean and nasty and they speak to this person and don't speak to that person. That behavior definitely stems from childhood. And you around here, like I said, like a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum and falling out because you hadn't identified what your trauma is. Let's get better with the picking, right? Not just picking our partners, but picking our peers. Some of us are picking the wrong type of friends. We're picking friends who encourage our toxic behavior, right? We always say we got that ride or die, that one who is down for whatever. So when we say let's roll, they're ready to roll. How about maturing and picking a friend that says, friend, that's not what we need to do. We are better than that. What is making you want to respond in that way? Why do you think that that is the reaction that you should take? Does that speak to the woman or man that you want to be? Does that show the character of the person you want to represent? Like, we gotta get our pickers together. I implore you to challenge yourself with these multiple partners, fathers of your children. Think of the relationship as it pertains to your attachment style. What role did your attachment style play in being a part of that relationship, but also being a part of the demise? What was the contributing factor? Were you a dismissive avoidant? Were you cold and kind of cut off? Did you want to be in full autonomy and not really operate like you're in a relationship? Did you want a lot of singleness while you were in a relationship? Or don't want to give an account for where you were or what you were doing? Do you want your partner to be self-sufficient and handle their own affairs and you handle yours? A good way to look at it is, are your bills split? You handle this and they handle that. Is there no jointness between y'all? There's a lot there that you can identify with and then question yourself and say, what outside of the dysfunction that I think would work in this situation? You'd be surprised what caught your interest. And then if you're an anxious style, think about the partners that you choose. Do you choose people who trigger that, right? Who make you more anxious and drive you crazy? Are you jumping off the hoods of cars and climbing through windows? Are you slicing tires because you're not getting the attention that you need? Are you jumping to conclusions and showing up places and now you're embarrassed because it wasn't what you thought? Are you constantly picking those same type of people who create that toxic environment for you? Because like they say, you can take the girl out the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl. So a lot of times, even in being removed from those type of environments from your childhood, you cultivate and recreate those environments as an adult. And then you expect the relationship to work. It's crazy. So we have to go back for the kids. We have to go back for the children in us. We have to rehabilitate and reform the children that were neglected, the children that were dismissed, the children that were abandoned, the children that were assaulted, the children that were abused, the children that were left behind. You have to go back to that person, restore that child before you can become a healthy adult. And if that means sitting on somebody's couch or in a Zoom or on a virtual chat, you need to do that. Let's normalize getting the help for the inner child in us. Let's make that make sense. Because it is sensible. Trying to have a healthy adult relationship with a broken child within is doomed before it starts. So look between these partners. My dismissive avoidance attachment style allowed me to enter into a relationship with a narcissist. Needless to say, that didn't last long at all. But if you are an anxious attachment style person, you will let a narcissist wear you out and wear you down. You may be in that type of relationship right now. But I'm only here to talk about attachment styles. I don't get into all the bipolars and the schizophrenias and all that other stuff. I leave that for the pros. But I challenge you to find your attachment style, call it out, and reclaim your healthy self. For some of us, a side of us we've never ever even met. We've never even been introduced to. So I'm giving you some homework. Look at your partners. And if I've already touched on your attachment style, whether it's a dismissive avoidant or an anxious attachment, look at them. Do they mirror the attachment style that you have? Or are they the complete opposite? And they're constantly triggering you. Are you having a lot of bickering between you and your children's fathers? Mothers? I guarantee you it's your attachment style. So, again, I want to thank you for letting me into your home for episode number 2. I hope you'll be back for episode number 3. But if you just found out that you're an anxious attachment style from this video, I need you to put that in the comments section. Let me know. If you found out before now, let me know how you identified with that, what you are doing to heal that, and what type of advice you would give to others who are suffering with that same attachment style issue. So until I see you again, thank you for letting me in your home, and I'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Bye-bye.